Hello and welcome again to the General Association #B4 Breaking Barriers While Building Bridges. We are so excited today for our guests that is with us, our guests that are walking lockstep, arm in arm, to make a difference in our community, to make a difference in our city. None other than the President and CEO, Jim Spradlin. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. You got it right.
Of Park Community Credit Union, and David Shadburne. All right, I'll get it right in a minute. The Executive Vice President of Park Community Credit Union, and of course, our co-host, Dr. Michael Rice, first Vice-Moderator of the General Association of Baptists in Kentucky, also the illustrious pastor of the First Baptist Church in Glasgow, Kentucky. My brother, my friend, thank you for being here and co-hosting with me this afternoon. I'm excited about having this conversation because for some time now, I was wanting to ask, especially Jim, what was your thoughts when you originally wanted to create this type of partnership with the General Association, which is predominantly an African-American group of Baptist churches across the Commonwealth of Kentucky, 545 to be exact. What was your thoughts and what came to mind? What drove you to want to pursue this type of relationship?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us on here. We love having the opportunity to talk about work in the community and living the credit union motto of people helping people. And you ask a very interesting question. It started out innocently enough, I guess it was 4 years ago. We actually participated in a city tour, a city program of the Russell neighborhood that was down here. And we spent 2 or 3 days, I guess, touring the city and meeting the community leaders down here. And we learned a lot. We learned a lot about what the community needed, what the needs were of the community. And at that point in time, we were actually beginning to shift the credit union focus to underserved communities, to communities that had maybe been ignored in the past from the traditional financial services, really going back to the roots of credit unions. So we started in Russell. And from Russell, we began to meet the leaders over in California, Dr. Cosby and some of the people at St. Stephen's and Simmons, and we began to get involved with them in what they needed. And we quickly realized that the first thing we needed to do was, how did we build trust in these communities that we needed to? So as we talked to more and more leaders, we thought, well, the easiest way maybe for us to earn trust is to go right through the front door of the church and get to know the pastors of the churches. And if we could get that trust developed where the pastors were beginning to talk about us and what we could do for them, that might open up a lot of doors in the community. So it started out first just we wanted to serve these disadvantaged communities, these ignored communities. As Raymond Smith, who works for us, says, everybody needs to have the opportunity to sit at the table. They need to have that access to opportunity. And what we were finding out was it wasn't that people didn't want a mortgage loan, they didn't want to buy a new car, they didn't want the services that we had, it's they didn't have the opportunity, they didn't have the exposure to them, or they didn't think they had that opportunity. So we just wanted to bring everybody to the table and say, here's the products we got. You can take advantage of them. We can help you if you'll just tell us your story and give us the opportunity to help.
Wow.
And I was thinking really that trip, we already started pivoting into the underserved areas. That really accelerated it.
Yeah.
I guess what I say a lot of times, that caused us to really look in the mirror. We were really wanting to serve the communities, all the communities. But then we saw, well, there's areas that we weren't. So we really doubled down and said, we are going to serve every one of the communities. And that's when we developed a relationship with the General Association of Baptists.
I distinctly remember both Jim and Dave, we were at the Galt House. I think this was maybe 3.5 years ago.
Probably.
And Park had decided that they were going to be one of the sponsors of the General Association. And the three of us were standing in the hallway at the Galt House, and I asked a question concerning a concern that I have, because normally financial institutions would cater to the larger congregations within our churches, but would shy away from the smaller congregations. I don't believe in big church or little church. There are larger congregations and smaller congregations, but the church is the church. And I asked a question I think I asked you, Jim, and I think Dave, both of y'all kind of came together and gave me an answer that I was very, very, very pleased with. And my question was, would you treat the church that only had 40 members the same way you would treat the church that had 4,000?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so why did you really feel strongly that you had to meet that mark?
Well, I mean, the whole credit union industry, we have members. We don't have customers, right? If you belong to the credit union, you belong to Park, you belong to OROWA, your initial deposit gives you an ownership share in that credit union. And all owners are equal. Your $5 is as good as my $5 that buys those shares. So we strive to treat every member the same, everybody the same. So when you talk about the church congregations, whether you've got 12,000 people or 40, you're the same to us. And you deserve that same access to those opportunities, those products that everybody else does. There's no distinguishing between large and small.
Dr. Rice, you really serve in a major way and give leadership to the South Central part of our state, being that you're in the Glasgow, Bowling Green, Horse Cave, Cave City, and in that whole area. Give us your thoughts on how financial opportunities through our churches, through the General Association, is going to make a huge difference in that particular area.
Well, I think this opportunity that has been presented to us by Park Community and OROWA is an opportunity for people in the area that I serve who, for the most part, don't think outside of the box. Because of the fact they've not had the opportunity to be exposed to what you are offering us. And I think in my area, people are generally simple thinking people. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying they're just people who just want to live. And people who just want to live comfortable. And there are people who know when people are genuine. And so I think we're excited about the fact that Park Community and OROWA put people before profit. I think we're excited about that. And I think there are churches in our area who could really use the help, and people in our area that could really use the help. And so we're excited about this opportunity. We really are.
I think, Dave, just like any organization, Jim has this thought, then he has this desire that he really wants the organization in which he leads and gives leadership to be very important and instrumental in changing lives of those who are left out, left back, left behind, the helpless, the hapless, and the homeless. And so as any CEO would do, he would have a key person that he would kind of point to say, come alongside and help us to make this a reality. And I kind of think that you're that guy that really kind of galvanized some things for us to make this happen. Tell us, how did you feel when you really understood what Jim was really wanting Park to do and be a part of?
Very excited. When we're talking about being impactful in people's lives, people who've not had the opportunity to see what a financial institution can do. And so just being able to show what Park is all about, what a mission of a credit union is all about, being able to make some impact on people's lives that could be generational impact with home ownership, with getting out of the payday lending alternative, those traps that people fall into. So it just was very thrilling to be able to move the ship just a little bit forward and build relationships with the General Association and with each church and hopefully with all the pastors out there.
One of the things, Dr. Rice, that I think is crucial and critical, I just learned, I believe it was last week, that OROWA, division of Park Community Credit Union, two things that has happened that I think is significant. And that is, number one, I believe that the application or whatever paperwork that was needed and necessary for Park to be a federal credit union has all been taken care of, and that Park can now stretch her wings all across the United States, which will help in a major way. But secondly, I learned that for the first-time home buyer, that Park will finance up to $350,000. If I'm y'all step in and correct me anytime. I don't want to speak on that one. Anytime that I'm wrong, as well as help out with maybe a couple of thousand towards the closing costs for anyone whose debt to income ratio is meeting the mark that is necessary and needed for that, even if they have a credit score as low as 585. What will something like that do, Dr. Rice?
Well, of course, historically, people of color in general have been deprived of these kinds of opportunities. And so when you think about the possibility of home ownership, it just excites us. I'm really excited. I have 2 adult children who are doing well for themselves, and I do thank God for that. But I had the privilege of being involved in the community, and I've seen so many young people who have so much potential, but who have not been given the opportunity, who have not had the access to the same thing some of their classmates had. And so, listen, this is really a blessing to us when we can go into a facility, a banking institution, a credit union, and feel comfortable that what we are told is the truth, and they are really looking out for our best interests. So I think this is a big, big deal for us as a people, the General Association of Baptists in Kentucky. And I just think that we ought to be really excited, and we ought to be a good partner with OROWA and Park Community.
There is, I think, a much needed understanding of a couple of things. One being the value of the partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Give me, Jim, Dave, either one of y'all, and both of y'all can kind of jump in on this question. What is your thoughts on the value of this partnership between the General Association and OROWA being a division of Park, mm-hmm. and this partnership coming together that is transcending anything that we can find in the nation? Mm-hmm. I haven't found anything in the nation that has this type of partnership as we have with the General Association's OROWA, mm-hmm. and that being a division, right. of a $1.2 billion financial institution. Mm-hmm. What do you think that value of this relationship is?
The division's yours. It's the association's. Okay, it was created for your membership, for the communities that you serve. So I think that's the first thing from your all's side. The second is we are a $1.2 billion financial institution. It opens you up to any of the products and services that we currently offer or available to your membership. But what it also does is it gives you the opportunity to point out the needs of the community, the needs of your membership, and we can develop new products for them. Yeah. So you've got a financial institution now with the all the resources we have behind us that can actually react fairly quickly if there are certain products or services that y'all need. We can create them. It literally takes 5 minutes to create a product if we know what it is that you need, and we can do that. If you go back to what you just said about the federal charter that we just switched to, and we're hoping to have that ready by November the 1st. We're still dotting the I's, or actually the government's dotting the I's. We've dotted all of our I's. And what that'll do is it lets us stretch across the state of Kentucky. It lets us go across the nation. But if you just look at Kentucky is an underserved state, period. I mean, there's plenty of need from east to west in the state of Kentucky. And so we'll be able to go to all of those communities y'all have got churches in, and we'll be able to present our products to them. We'll be able to help that home ownership, create legacy wealth that they can pass down from generation to generation, which is really what's missing It's one of the key factors that's missing in lifting communities up. We'll be able to take our commercial loans in there, our small business loans, to help the entrepreneurs in these communities get their businesses started, help them through the process of getting a business started, and that's going to help build up the community. And we're able to take all that into your membership.
And I guess, Dave, the same question as far as, is there anything else that you would add to this value of this partnership between the General Association and Park Community Credit Union that we know as OROWA?
Just to elaborate on a couple of things, Jim said this was your credit union. It truly is. I mean, the General Association is going to be involved in the strategic planning for this organization, this chapter, this division. And as I say a lot of times, we are unapologetically, this division is laser focused to the faith-based community. It's unapologetically focused on the minority community, to the underserved community. So that's our focus. So building this relationship, providing these products, providing these services, providing an avenue where people want to serve and work together in a partnership is something that usually doesn't exist.
One thing we haven't mentioned too that'll help the communities also is we are a community development financial institution. In fact, we're the largest one in the state of Kentucky.
That's correct.
We're the only depository institution in the state of Kentucky to hold that. And what that does for the communities across the state is it makes us eligible to receive grants and funds from the Treasury Department, from large nonprofits across the country that we can then funnel back into the communities in the forms of loans or sometimes grants. We've probably done $5-6 million worth of grants this year. And a lot of that is the government gives us money and says, go give it away.
What would be your response to an individual who has concerns about not having access to a brick and mortar place of business? How would you calm them? How would you respond to that?
I'd really guide them to all of our digital products that we have. So we just recently updated our digital platform.
Okay.
So we've got some of the latest and greatest bells and whistles in our digital format. So if you need a loan, you can work through our digital platform, or you can actually call our call center to also get walked through the process. But something else we also do is we have people like Andrew Pleasant and Raymond Smith and other originators who actually come to the borrower, walk them through the process, and help them.
We also participate in shared branching. So if there is a credit union somewhere near them, they can go in there and make a deposit or withdraw money from it.
Or the ATMs.
Or the ATMs, yeah.
Thank you so much, because in my area, there's a hands-on kind of relationship in the banking business, first name basis, those kinds of things. Walk in the bank, hey Mike, those kinds of things. And so they're accustomed to having that brick and mortar and familiar faces as it relates to their doing business.
Yep, we have a lot of friends in that area. We could probably even find an office we can meet them in.
I think that in the underserved communities that we try to help and serve, there is that feeling that maybe this is a little too good to be true.
Yep.
And how would you address that? I mean, I'm so delighted that the President and CEO and the Executive Vice President is here with us on #B4 General Association, Breaking Barriers, Building Bridges, because what your president here says is this is genuine and authentic. But there's been so many that have come before and that have done what I call that strip mine act, where they just take the jewels and nuggets out of our community and just leave holes.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that we know that's the history in the banking and even credit unions, probably in the banking industry. They'll come into a community, and as soon as they run into a bump in the road, they're gone. So we're acutely aware of that, and we've spent several years, we feel like, trying to build a lot of trust in the communities. But I'm going to be honest with you, there isn't a thing I can say to make anybody believe it. It's all going to have to come down by actions, and we're going to have to prove it over time. So the best thing we can say to people is we just ask for the opportunity and give us the chance, and we'll show you that we're here for real. We just were able. It's a baby step, but we were just able to move one of our branches in Louisville. We moved it off Market Street, moved it into West Jefferson. It's on Jefferson Street in the Russell neighborhood. Like I said, it's a baby step. We need to get further into the communities, but we're going to continue to try and do that. And if people just give us the opportunity, we think we'll show them. But I'm not naive enough to think there's any word I can say to convince people on one show.
And I think one thing we also say is we want you all to hold us accountable.
Yep.
You know, whether we're talking to the General Association, whether we're talking to the board of OROWA, whether we're talking to anybody in the street. You know, it's easy to talk, but we've got to walk it.
Yeah.
So if we do something that we're not supposed to be doing, if we're not walking the talk, then we want you to hold us accountable and say, Dave, you said, but this is what you're doing. Okay.
Well, I think that is important for all of our constituencies. And I think what excites me more than anything else about this partnership, about OROWA Financial being the General Association and this being the General Association's financial institution, is the fact that your heart, your love, and your desire to go through our churches, which is the bedrock of every Black community that I know of, and that you would work so closely with our churches and these pastors, not only for that particular church, but for that community where that church is geographically located. I think that excites me more than anything else. And so your mere presence here again, I think speaks to the genuineness of this relationship and partnership. And I just wanted us during this show, this segment, to just kind of get a feel for your heart, get a feel for what you were kind of thinking when you looked out and was moved and motivated to make a difference in the lives of the people in our city, across our state, that may not have had the same opportunity or would not have an opportunity if you did not make a decision that you're going to go and serve the least of these and find a way to make a difference and impact through the love of Christ. And so we're excited. We're really excited about this opportunity that I will say that God has brought before the General Association and Park Community Credit Union and said, together, y'all lift me up and I will lift up those who are unserved, underserved, and those who have no hope. Because what this financial partnership is doing is actually giving people hope. As Dr. Rice has said, it's access and opportunity. And when you provide a person who has no hope with access and opportunity, then you become a transformational agent, not a transaction agent.
That's right.
And when you do that, then you help to restore and regain the hope of the people that you serve. One last question as we begin to wrap up. And again, thank you so much for sharing with us on General Association hashtag B4 Breaking Barriers While Building Bridges. What would you like the end game to this relationship and partnership to be?
Wow, that's a good question. I think that it is totally possible that if the association wants it, you could have your own credit union down the road. You could 100% have that. You know, if you all are willing to do what's necessary to create the capital and the staffing and everything that goes behind it, I 100% think that can be the end game, that OROWA Financial becomes OROWA Financial Credit Union. We've still got some partnership where we can help you in the background, but that you've got your own front door to a credit union. It's not a division anymore, it's your own credit union.
I would second that. I mean, there is no minority depository institution based in the state of Kentucky. This can be the first one.
Well, that's what we're striving for.
Absolutely.
That's what we want. We really believe that all of this is a blessing from God, that God is guiding this. And we believe that if God's hand is on it, then it's going to come out to be exactly what it needs and intends to be. So again, thank you so very, very much for joining us today on this segment. We are hoping that all of the constituencies of the General Association and beyond will tune in. We believe that if they would just give this a chance and opportunity, then they will discover that this is the real deal.
The real deal.
So again, thank you so very, very much for joining us. Dr. Rice, thank you for co-hosting with me again. We look forward to our next segment, which we're going to talk about. Actually OROWA Financial again, and some of the products. We're going to talk about the General Association's American Baptist News, AB News. There's going to be a printed magazine once a quarter. We're excited about that. And we're also going to talk about the violence that we're having in our city and across the state and the Black church. And so we're looking forward to our next episode. Again, thank you so very much for being with us. We thank God for you, and we are super excited about the wonderful and marvelous things that I know is coming down the pike for OROWA Financial, a division of Park Community Credit Union. And until we see each other again, we're breaking bridges, building bridges and breaking barriers. Hashtag B4, the General Association
Very good.
of Baptists in Kentucky.
Thank you.